Welcome back to All for United. It's another preview show ahead of a game with some significance tomorrow because we need to beat Sheriff, not just to get through to the next round, but to really stake our claim going into the final game of these Europa League matches next week, isn't it? We've got Sociedad, and we need to win that to win the group. And looking at it, we need to win the group, otherwise the next tie is looking a little bit tricky for us. Anyway, get in the live chat. Make sure you hit like on the video, subscribe. I've got Reese with me. I've got Stu with me. Hopefully, Alex is going to join us in a bit as well. But Reese, I'll start with you. I suppose just general thoughts going into this, because they gave us a tough game, didn't they, at their ground? But we seem to overcome that in the end with a bit of ease, mainly more towards the end of the first and the second half. But they're still an unknown quantity in some ways, and so are we. What United are going to turn up? What are your thoughts ahead of the game?
Yeah, optimistic. I think in terms of, by the way, I'm looking forward to the game and everything. I think I watched a bit of the press conference earlier on, and the vibe around that, and some of the media coverage and questions, and Eriksen's attitude seemed to be really positive, and I think it's looking really good. I'm really looking forward to the game. I think, we've maybe not beaten the teams around us in this group as convincingly as we all kind of hoped. I think we were hoping that this group stage would be a bit of a boost and a confidence boost for the league, but it's kind of not proven to go that way. But I'm really looking forward to it, if I'm honest. I mean, I've been watching the Champions League games this week and just getting read up for it, and I'm just looking forward to seeing United in Europe again for another week. So I think we'll do them quite convincingly tomorrow. We've been waiting for that kind of result in this group stage so far. Obviously, the Ammonia games didn't provide that, and the previous Sheriff game was, pretty much the same, really, to a degree. But no, I think we're, back at home, we seem to be sort of creating a bit of a fortress as well again, don't we, at Old Trafford? Crowd seems to be up. Everybody seems to be sort of buzzing at the minute. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. There's a few players back from injury as well. Maybe not players that we're all sort of looking forward to seeing, but still players back from injury all the same. So, there might be some rotation tomorrow. But no, I'm up for it, to be honest. I'm going to the game as well, so I'm kind of up for that as well. On a second note, to be fair. So, yeah.
I hope for your sake that it is one of those games where we hit the ground running, and it's not one of those where we're agonisingly going into the 70th, 75th minute 0-0, having had 101 shots on goal, 600 crosses, and Lord knows how many passes as well in their final third, because you can just imagine the tension, can't you, towards the end, and also how much of a difficult game that is going to be to watch. It's got one of those feels to it, hasn't it, Stu, this? It's even going to be one of those where we end up getting a performance out of this team and out of some of the fringe players, depending on who Ten Hag goes with. We'll speak about that in a minute. Or it's going to be one that we're kept on the edge of our seats for most of the 90.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think we'll scrape over the line. Maybe 1, maybe 2-0. We don't have the firepower. As much as we're creating chances, we can't finish them. And this is the problem. And this is the whole debate about Ronaldo. Is Ronaldo finishes chances when he's on the top of his game? He finishes chances, and it could well be that Sheriff just come and frustrate us, for 90 minutes. And we've got to start taking these chances. We got to draw with Chelsea away, which on paper everybody would consider that to be a great result. But the issue is we missed a hatful of chances. And you can't keep doing that, because sooner or later we'll end up losing 1-0. And they've got to whatever Ten Hag does tomorrow night, he's got to make sure, and he's got to drill into these players. If you get that one chance, you've got to put it away, irrespective of whether it's on your right foot, your left foot. You've got to put that ball in the back of the net, and that will be quite critical. If we don't score within 20, 25, maybe 30 minutes, then they'll get a little bit of a head of steam, and they'll just sit back. I mean, they're not going to come and try and win the game, that's for sure. And so I think it's quite important that we get the first goal and we get it early doors, and it'll set the scene, because what we would like to do, or what we need to do, was if you just start with a strong squad, after about 60 minutes, you want to remove 2 or 3, maybe even 4 of these players and rest them for the weekend. So I think it's going to be a very, very difficult night's work. It won't be an easy night's work. We all thought Ammonia was going to be an easy night's work, and look what happened. So,
tough game, tricky game. It's the unknown quantities, isn't it? It makes it even more difficult. Hello to Kev, by the way. I haven't spoken to you in ages, mate. Seen you've been doing bits. Good to have you in the live chat this evening. Hello to James. Go and subscribe to his new YouTube channel, by the way, and I'm sure he'll be jumping on the preview ahead of the West Ham game on Friday. Fingers crossed. And as ever, Jarvis is with us. Thank you, mate. Thank you for jumping in. Look, if you've just joined, get in the live chat, have a conversation with us. Look, are we going to be shooting blanks against Sheriff on tomorrow? Are you concerned about that? I mean, look, at the end of the day, we had all the chances in the world against Chelsea. We didn't put them away. Will it be any different against Sheriff? I suppose the interesting point within all this, Reece, is the fact that we are actually creating chances. Is that a big positive that we have to take away from it and sort of live in hope that we will start putting them away?
I think so. I think I don't want to work back too much to sort of Rangnick days, but I think obviously he could clearly see where we were weak as well, and I think Ten Hag had the pedigree to sort of really grab hold of that and do something with it. To be fair, whereas Rangnick probably didn't, although he could see the weaknesses. Our biggest issue was lots of different areas, not only scoring goals. That's the hardest part of the game, really, but it was more about getting control of the games and becoming harder to beat and not conceding as many goals. That's what we were doing at the beginning of the season. We were quite easy to beat, and he's got us. We're grinding out results. We're winning 1-0s. We're obviously we had a draw against Chelsea, but we fought back into the game over the weekend. We're there now. We're competing. We're becoming difficult to beat, and now what we've got to do is finesse that, put the finishing touches to it. It's like when Van Persie. We got the Van Persie back in was it 2013? I can't remember the exact year it was now, and it just added the finishing touch to that team. Okay, maybe not the greatest team we've seen it at United, but it was a finishing touch to that team which won us the league that year, and that's kind of what Ten Hag will probably be looking for. Either I won't say January, I think that'll be too soon, but definitely towards the end of next season, and it's just going to be. We're just going to have to take the ride the kind of wave this year, and hopefully we do have a good cup run, or we do something this Europa League, and maybe even win a cup, or funnily enough, win this thing as well. But I think at the minute now we're competing, we're looking better, we're playing better football in spells, we're having good moments in the game. Like I said, we're creating chances. Yeah, somebody needs to be on the end of them. So we need a striker, and that's the thing that we need. But that's gonna come. And the thing I'm more positive about is the fact that we're actually competing now in games and looking like we're controlling these games. So that's the thing for me. I'm more pleased about, really, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm really excited to watch Manchester United play again. And although we're playing Sheriff tomorrow, I don't want to miss it. I could have gone and played football tomorrow night. Instead, I've decided I actually want to stay at home and watch United play the full game and not miss half of it, because we've got that feel-good factor back, and it's still early days and we don't want to talk too soon. But that's a real nice thing. We're enjoying watching Manchester United play football again. James has jumped in, by the way, saying, of course we can score. I think many would be surprised how positively Lindelof affects the team against the low block. Distribution excellent, drives into midfield and plays in between the lines. I mean, and also, let's not forget, remember Mr. Tom was talking about this the other day, Stu. We haven't seen the full capabilities yet of Martinez and his passing range. And the one thing that I do want to see us do with Rashford is try to make clever runs backwards. Now, what I mean by that is Rashford plays at his best when he's able to run in behind. So if we've got two ball-playing centre-backs, like Lindelof and Martinez, who can pick out a pass over the top, we need our wingers and Rashford to be a little bit more clever to bring that low block up the pitch. Because if Lindelof and Martinez can find them in behind and you can get Rashford one-on-one with their goalkeeper, it's always going to be a better chance. It's always going to be in your favour. You're going to be able to put that one in the back of the net, and that's where Rashford does thrive. That's where Rashford scores his goals. And I suppose that's one area that we need to have a look at, don't we? If Sheriff are going to set up in a low block, we've really got to move them about. Otherwise, it's going to be a long, tough night trying to get that ball through them.
you know, teams who sit in a low block, you've got to allow them to have possession. You got to make them do something with possession as well, because it's called possession concession, basically. Strangely enough, but you can see possession because you know we're against a low block team who won't come out to you. You can have as much possession as you like, and it makes no difference. So you've got to allow them. You've got to concede possession sometimes. You've got to allow them to come at you, and the best way to do that is to have our two wingers, as you quite rightly said, slightly, you know, maybe a third of the way into our half, you know, allowing Sheriff to come at us. And then that, if we do get the transition and a turnover, you're absolutely right. Sancho and Anthony or whoever's playing at the wings can get in behind, because we don't do that at the wings. You know, our two wingers do not get behind, do not get to the byline, and don't cross the ball. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Without Ronaldo there, we don't have a focal point in the middle. Rashford will never be that focal point for us in the middle. His game is on the turn, bang, as much space as he can to. He's all about yardage in between the centre halves and the goalkeeper. That's where he thrives. That's where he's good. Sheriff won't allow us to do that. They didn't allow us to do it in the first game, and Moni didn't allow us to do it in both games. If you remember, they were very, very tight. They were very compact. Having said that, our good old golden egg Casemiro wasn't at the top of his game at that point in time. He is today. So he may be able to, with Eriksen alongside Bruno, coax Sheriff out. But the way that you go against a low block is you can see possession, allow them to come at you. And as soon as you can turn it and spring, that's where we'll be dangerous. It'll be interesting to see whether we can do it. It'll be interesting to see if Ten Hag wants to play that type of football. And that's why I say it will be a long night. It won't be an easy 5 or 6-0. And with regards to the comment about, of course, we'll score goals. Show me the evidence of the last 3 or 4 games. You know, we're not scoring at what we should. Our chances and our conversions are shocking, absolutely shocking. We're making chances. We're not sticking the ball in the back of the net. You know, we beat Emonia 1-0. We beat Emonia 3-2 away. We beat Sheriff, 2-1. You know, we drew with Chelsea. All right, we scored twice against Tottenham. But these are games where you've got to grab it by the scruff of the neck. It's like a boxer on the ropes. And it's our favourite analogy. You know, when you're on the ropes, you've got to try and pull him off. You know, get him out, get him to fight you. That's what you want, because when he's on the ropes and he's covering up, you're not scoring. We know all this. And this is exactly what happens when we play against a low block. They just cover up and we don't score. Unfortunately.
I like the boxer analogy. I actually really, really like that. Jarvis says, I'm confident we'll win tomorrow. As I said yesterday, I really hope Rashford gets 2 or 3 goals and gets this season started and gets the pressure off of his shoulders. Apex has jumped in. Hope you're good. Lads, it's nice to see United on the right trajectory. That's playing football. 100% agree. Flex says, I'm sure players are watching and seeing how we've played our last 3 games. Imagine if we had Kane. Don't let Marcus see that, because I've put him right on Twitter. Kane is, I keep saying it. If you guys didn't watch Last Word on Sunday, I admitted to having dreams about Harry Kane. I mean, not what you think. I basically had the thought that Harry Kane would cook in this Ten Hag team just because of the way he plays and the way that Ten Hag sets up. And ever since, I can't get that vision out of my head. And I now want us desperately to sign Harry Kane. Forget his injury record. We'll come back and we will chat about what we learned from the first game, and we'll go over the heat maps and sort of take a look back at that performance against Sheriff, where we won 2-0 there. But I just want to quickly, Reece, to carry on talking about the attackers chat. Just from the training group, and we're going to talk Martial in a second, and I'm going to give you that one to do. But having a look at the guys who trained today and the forward players that trained: Anthony, Elanga, Rashford, Sancho, Ronaldo, Garnacho, Pellistri. Do you think he goes full strength, or do you think he mixes it up a little bit?
It's interesting, really, because I've always been like when you get to these games. I mean, I watched the European games this week. Man City brought off Haaland, I think, after the hour mark. Nunes came off just now for Liverpool on the hour mark, and you sort of get to those games where things are wrapped up for you in at this time of a European sort of, kind of group stage, and you hope to kind of rest certain players and rotate certain players and try certain players out. We're not in that position, and Ten Hag's a strong believer in winning every game and winning every game convincingly to the same style and the same intensity level that he wants to project. I think he should be rotating it personally. Will he do that? No, because he knows better than I do, because he gets paid a hell of a lot more than I do, and he knows football better than I do. So that's why he's a manager of Man United, and he's going to be going out there and putting his best, his front foot forward and putting his best team out there, which I think is exactly what he'll do. I think he'll go, not to talk about the team too much in detail just yet, because I know I was probably going to do that later in the hour, but I think he'll go for a team similar to the one that he put out at Spurs. And we'll talk again, I'm sure, about the Ronaldo situation. He mentioned in his press conference about the young players. I think one question in particular was about Palestri, and he played it down. He just said, "Look, there's competition for places, not only between the young kids, but obviously the current stars that are there, and they've got to show me that they're good enough to be playing in this team." So they're not just going to get there because they're 18, 19 and deserve a chance at playing in a Europa League match. They've got to show it in training. They've got to be showing it and showing it consistently. So he's very old school, Ben, and I'd say, he wants to be winning every game, and he wants to be winning it convincingly. And like Stu's just said earlier on, we haven't really done that this season. Spurs was the best performance I've seen from a United team for a long, long time. Was it still convincing? No. Fred scored a deflection. Bruno got, a fairly sort of, it was a good goal in the end. I think his other goal probably should have stood as well, but it didn't. So as much as it was a convincing display in terms of controlling the game, from a point of view of scoring goals and finishing off those chances, it wasn't convincing still. So Ten Hag knows there's vulnerability there, because we can't score enough goals. I think apart from just the weekend or the weekend before, on the midweek game against Spurs, our goal difference was a negative result, I think, or was it even? Was it break even? It was something like that, and it's just carried over the zero mark. So it's a bit of a concern when you sat in fifth and your goal difference is negative. Again, I don't think it is just at this moment in time, but I think it was as of a week ago. He's limited for offensive opportunities and offensive options. I think he'll go very strong tomorrow. Hopefully, like I say, batter Sheriff, which is what we deserve to do, especially after a couple of good performances, and builds everybody's confidence. And then we go into the Sociedad game with an opportunity to then really decide what he wants to do with that one. But we've got to go strong tomorrow and just batter these. To be fair,
yeah, I do agree. But I think the one positive we can take from that is it feels like we are a number 9 away from being able to achieve something really, really good. Even just looking back, let's all forget about the City game. Didn't happen. It's just that's how far my mind takes it. From that defeat against Real Sociedad, we've conceded 4 goals in 2, 4, 6, 8 games. No, 9 games.
This is what I mean. We've become difficult to beat now, haven't we? We're competing,
but we
just need a goal scorer,
but then we're finding it difficult to score, like you say, which is obviously tough, and it's one of those. And what doesn't help Stu is one of the guys that shows some promise of banging the ball in the back of the net this season seems to want to spend the whole season on the side. Well, no, doesn't want to. Let me rephrase that. Seems that some force wants to see him spend the whole season on the sideline. And that player being Anthony Martial.
Yeah, look, Martial's problem is, as good as a player he is, he falls into the Varane bracket. Something about French players where they seem to be made of glass or something along those lines. They can't stay fit for 6 weeks or more. Varane's had that throughout his career. Martial has started to have that now. We'd have a variety of different players that can't stay fit. And that's as much down to them, by the way, as individuals, not looking after themselves properly, and not trying to find a solution to why they're always getting injured. Back in the day, Ryan Giggs was having massive hamstring problems. and they deemed it due to due to his clutch in his car, and it's just a small way of trying to placate this kind of injury issue that these players are having. So these players have got to look at themselves and what are they doing wrong, off the pitch, or are they not training correctly? Should the analysts, the sports science team, should they be looking at specific programs for these guys? Yes, it's not helpful because you want them training with the group, but there are occasions where some of these players require different types of training. Martial and Varane fit into that category. And it's a real shame because the promise that he showed when he joined us and the goal output he had in the 1920 season, we're seeing that type of hungry type of Martial again. Although he's not the stereotypical number 9 that we need, and I'll go back to Edinson Cavani, he would absolutely love it playing in this team, having Casemiro, having Bruno, and having Eriksen, and the likes of Anthony and Sancho will get wide, will get to the byline, and will cross it in because they understand that you've got a player in there who knows where to be 2 seconds quicker than the defender. So it's great that we are a number 9 away, but we don't have the talent pool to replace a goal-scoring machine. Now, people can argue about Ronaldo at the minute. He doesn't fit our system. Absolutely, he doesn't fit our system the way that Ten Hag wants to play. But what he does is offer us that focal point. And, we're getting to the final third. We're not attacking the diagonals anymore. We've completely stopped attacking the diagonals. We don't go around the fullbacks anymore. So what tends to happen is Sancho and Anthony get faced up by the fullback. For the fullback basically stands square on against them and says, well, if you go to my left, you're right, I'm going to cut you off. I'm going to make you go back. So that's because we're not attacking with any real pace. And we've got to sort that side out. And if we can kind of sort that out, then we will be more penetrative, I guess.
But we also said the other day, didn't we, Stu, that if we did have that proper number 9 that knew how to move in the box, that knew how to make those runs without even thinking about them, that we'd see our wingers hit the bar line. I mean, we've only got to look back at Anthony at Ajax with Haller as a centre forward. He was constantly putting the ball in the box, like constantly, sometimes too often. Like, you've seen some of the clips of him cutting back on the inside and stuff. I've not seen him really put the ball in the box once with his left foot. Like, nothing memorable anyway. Like,
there's nowhere to aim. There's nobody to aim for, is it? Because Rashford isn't going to get in the box. Sancho's not going to come in at the back stick. We don't have the wingers.
Same with Sancho, by the way. We know how he likes to operate with a number 9. Yeah. Short, snappy passes in, cutting behind, let them turn, flick it through, etc. Again, he hasn't got that person on his wavelength in the middle to hit.
No, he doesn't. It's affecting his game, and so Anthony's more so than Sancho has been a little bit unpredictable, which is great. We need the unpredictability, but no, for sure, come the summer, we need this number 9, whoever it may be. But we need number 9 who's going to score goals. I don't want to talk about Haaland, but he's a winner's dream. He really is. He's just I'm just going to cross the ball, and then he's going to get on it. Darwin Núñez, he's having a rough time of it, but again, he's a focal point in the box. And we need all this. And I think the old-fashioned number 9 is actually coming back into.
That's been revived, doesn't it? Yeah,
absolutely. And
Harry Kane.
Someone said.
By the way, people were asking why Sesko. Exactly that. Like, he might not have done the numbers yet, but he shows that promise as an old-fashioned number 9. He's big. He's got that bit of pace about him. He knows how to hold the ball, but not just that. He sees it. He knows where to go. He's like a fox in the box. He knows where to go, and he knows how to score goals. And I think it's one of those Malakins. Phil Brown is going to join us on Friday night's show. He said today that he still thinks United are really interested in him, and to ignore the Leipzig stuff. Yes, he might go to Leipzig, but it doesn't mean he'll play a minute for them. So it's really, really interesting to see where that goes this summer, because if United want to go for a young forward, I literally think he's one of the only ones to go for. Otherwise, you need to look at someone a bit more established, the likes of João Felix. I don't even think he's the right profile. Martinez at Inter. maybe, and then it's Kane's territory, etc. So we'll wait and see. But let's stick with Martial for a minute. Let's properly have this debate. That there's quite a few you watching right now. Hit like on the video, get in the live chat. I'll ask the question, Buntley. If this continues this season, is Martial done at United? Because surely he's gone on that loan spell last year. He hasn't impressed. He's struggled with injuries throughout. He's never been consistent really in form. Could say for one season under Ollie, he started to bang. But now he's showing this awful injury record. And I'm going to bring it up, actually. Let's share my screen. It makes more sense too. So since 2018, this is where he's at, and it reads horrendously. And I think what's more concerning is none of these really, by the looks of it, I mean, they're not in detail, are reoccurring injuries, which is the concern. That he goes into a game, he goes into training, and there's something else wrong. Like you say, Stu, that reads to me more like he's not looking after himself. Again, don't throw that at anyone, but have a look. It's not like we're getting the same hamstring injuries every time. It's not like we're getting the same, Achilles injuries, irritation, etc. But Reece, come on, do you want to chip in on this, mate? You listened to us half on about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, just look at him really. I mean, we've all played football at some level. I've had my fair share of injuries, less muscle injuries than anything else, more silly sprains, if I'm honest, and that keep you out for a lot longer. I mean, when you look at knee muscle injuries, hamstring injuries, hip strain, it's and you can see the days on them as well. I mean, other than the muscles, the thigh strain, the muscle strain, hamstring injuries, it's that's what sort of 3 or 4 weeks. If you've really pulled them, I mean, really pulled the muscle to the degree that it's severe, it's keeping you out more than 3 to 4 weeks. So it's niggles that are just probably lack of conditioning, like Stu says. Maybe he's not took enough fluids on or whatever, and it's resilience, isn't it? It's funny how certain players with that kind of attitude and that personality seem to sort of get those injuries more than other ones. And I'm not suggesting that players should be playing through injury or pain or anything like that. Of course they shouldn't, because that makes matters worse. And I think times have moved on from people getting injections to play through injuries and stuff. But there's nothing really sort of springing out at you there to say, oh, he's suffered a big injury like a leg break at some point, and then he's had a series of injuries following the leg break, where you can probably understand he's never really kind of recovered from that. Obviously, the knee ligament one back in 2021, could that kind of have been the catalyst for maybe a lot of the other injuries? I don't know. Maybe he's compensating now. He's at he's at 80% on his knee now after maybe possibly surgery, and he's never really recovered from it. But he's a fabulous player. There's no doubt in his talent, and he's shown it pre-season. But I think, like the lads have said on previous shows that we've been on, one of the biggest abilities that you can have is being available. If you're not available, it's pointless you being on the books, really, because you're just costing the club money, and they're putting faith in you as well, trying to get you back fit when somebody could be taking your place. And I think the time's come, and I think deep down in his mind he'll probably know that himself. I would have thought. You can't keep coming into a big club like Man United and just crossing your fingers hoping you're going to be fit, ready for a game every other week, and then been out for another 3 or 4. So, yeah, no, I think for me, as sad as it is, because I like him as a player, but I think when you look at the sort of pragmatism of it, I think it's not the best option. Is it keeping him? I think for beyond next season or beyond this season.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think, especially if United are looking to push forward, we need a couple of number 9s really having a look at it. And I just think, looking at this, like his last 5 injuries are all completely different, and they're very odd as well. Jarvis is just weighing in, by the way, on the striker debate, and he's saying someone who, Stu, if you remember at the start of the season, I said, keep your eye on Mitrovic this season, because he could end up being the player that United go and spend 50 million on next summer to come in and be our number 9. And he's mentioned Mitrovic there. And to be fair, he's had a cracking season. I just don't think he works hard enough off the ball for Ten Hag, if you want me to be honest, from what I've seen of him. But yeah, some really good options Tony mentioned there as well. 2 weeks because of the flu. Well, it was 10 days in isolation to COVID at one point, so that's probably what that's down as.
The other thing that
go on, mate.
injuries. I mean, a knee ligament injury can weaken your hamstring, and it can weaken your calves, and it can weaken your Achilles. I mean, it's just a fact of life, that is, because it's your joint, isn't it, in between your hammy and your calf, etc. But he should be looking at ways. He should be monitoring the types of shoes that he's wearing at any given time. Should he be wearing softer shoes to help with bounce on his Achilles, which then helps with less strain on his knees? What's the type of carpet he's got at home? Is he walking on hard floors all the time? There's a multitude of reasons that you can go to and think, maybe I should soften this part up in what I'm doing on a daily basis. Maybe I should look at that. Maybe he's not being massaged every day before he goes out and trains. Maybe he's not taking on enough fluids. Maybe his bones aren't strong enough because he's not having the required supplements at the right time. You could go on forever with injuries, but you've got to have that responsibility, and you've got to look at your career and think, Jesus Christ, I'm 27 years old and I've been injured for 5 years of my career, give or take. That to me, whoa, what am I going to do? Go to the club doctor, go to the club physio. What the fuck am I going to do? I've been injured for 5 years out of a 10-year career. What can I do? How can you help me? Somebody must be able to help me. But I doubt these players are doing it because, Ten Hag's obviously different, but these players are going in at 10 in the morning, they're having breakfast, blah, 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 and they're off by 2 o'clock, going off and doing what they should be doing. There's no want to improve. There's no will to improve anymore. And I think Ten Hag is slowly but surely redressing that balance. I must admit, I think he is. And it's showing that he's redressing the balance. But these players, if you're Martial and you're looking at your injury record, if I was Martial and looking at that, I'd be going, oh, crying out loud. How am I still the man?
He needs a pair of Skechers, mate. That's what he needs. He needs a pair of Skechers to have those pillows on his feet.
But it could be something that stupid. It literally could be something that simple and that stupid that allows him to, strengthen areas of his body that is clearly weak. And Varane's the same.
Can you hear Redknapp's voice now talking about Skechers? That's
yeah. I mean, I've never seen someone go topless to promote some shoes before, but there we go. That's Jamie Redknapp.
That is true. Yeah.
I was thinking then, it came in my head that a lot of people used to blast Martial for being like slightly lazy, sometimes looking a bit disinterested on the pitch. And you never know. We've spoken about this many a time, Stu. The modern day footballer who didn't really grow up watching football or getting football or, wanting to go to battle to really be a professional footballer. More the fact that you had some talent and you were pushed into it. And then there you are, you're on a football pitch, a bit like we see now with some of the famous boxing names and, their sons taking after their dads, but haven't really got that hunger to do it. Now, I just wonder if maybe, we're talking about Martial's injury record. So we're all really here, hypothetically speaking, of course. I just wonder if that also translates off the pitch. And it is a shame because, like we say, all the talent in the world, absolutely all the talent in the world. We just want him to kick on. But there we go. Let's wait and see. I mean, it's a long season, isn't it? Now let's it is a Sheriff preview. Let's quickly talk about the first game where we won 2-0 and let's get another screen share going, shall we? And have a look at what happened in that game. It was a lovely 5:30 kickoff, wasn't it? This one, if I remember right. So I nearly missed it. I thought it was an 8 o'clock game, but it wasn't. So that match we lined up with De Gea, Dalot, Varane, Martinez, Malacia, Eriksen, McTominay, Anthony Fernandes, Sancho, and Ronaldo. I remember going into it, we're all going, "Oh, Casemiro doesn't start in this game, and he's clearly not part of Ten Hag's plans." Well, how that changed, right? An interesting game. A 2-0 win. In the end, it was a penalty from Ronaldo, wasn't it? Yeah, and Sancho obviously got an early goal in that game as well. But what was that?
Was it the 700?
Yeah, 700. Yeah, I think no. Everton was 700. This was 699, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Everton was 700. Yeah.
It was a game we dominated. I mean, let's not get that wrong. But I think you can see here how deep that Sheriff line was even in the first game playing at home. But then also how deep United's line was in some ways as well. And just look at the lack of getting that ball in the box. Stu, Reece, let me come to you first. What are your memories of the first game?
Well, funnily enough, if you just tilt your head to the one side, it looks like a smiley face, which I didn't have a smiley face when I was watching the first half an hour. So, Yeah, it was. Do you know what? They were quite an energetic team. They were quite an aggressive, energetic team in the first 20, 30 minutes. Which team you've seen it in the FA Cup, haven't you? You know, your teams, the sort of minnows playing bigger teams. You see that energy level, like kind of like, you know, we're playing a big team. You want to put a big performance in. There's a lot riding on it, and obviously all the media coverage and everything. So the players tend to fly in against us, and when it's in that situation, and it was no different with Sheriff. I noticed that in the first, like I say, half an hour, and then gradually we sort of got on top and created, you know, and started being a bit more in control. But yeah, it's I mean, you can see from the graphic there the big red spots where we've obviously been transitioning and recycling it back from one side to the next and doing that consistently, and that's where we've struggled this year. You know, that's where we've. Like Stu said, I'm slightly unconvinced with the inverted wingers personally. I'm probably more of a traditionalist where I like, you know, left-footed wingers being on the left side and right-footed wingers being on the right side, and we cross balls in. And I think there's no harm in that sometimes, especially against teams like this where you're going to get a lot of the ball in and around those types of areas in the opponent's third, and you just want balls in there and you just want people attacking it. So. Yeah, first game it was a bit like testing the water. They came out all guns blazing. We had to kind of soak it up a little bit, and then I think we got on top and gradually sort of wormed its way in. The quality sort of came through the other end really. And I think Sancho's goal was quite a nice one from what I remember. I think he finished it pretty well, and it was a good little move. But yeah, I think we're going with a lot more confidence. I think like Stu said, Casemiro is going to probably start and. It's a telltale sign when he takes a player with into a press conference. So it's likely that Eriksen will start. So will Bruno be dropped? Maybe. You know, I'm not convinced again on Eriksen-Bruno partnership, and I think they started together in this game, like you say, alongside McTominay in there. But I think we'll see probably an Eriksen pushed further forward with Fred and Casemiro playing together, possibly. But yeah, it's. I think we're coming this with a lot more confidence, and we take it by the scruff of the neck. I think in the first 10 or 15, and try and go for an early goal. I think that's kind of how we should approach it.
I think we'll probably see him end up with the full strength midfield. I think he'll end up playing Casemiro, Eriksen, and Bruno. I think he's seen the Europa League as an opportunity to push some confidence in the side this season. He hasn't made a lot of rotational changes, has he? And I think he's used it more to get those partnerships going and to keep the team playing, to try and get them playing together more often than not. The only changes that he has made are the little changes with like Malacia and Shaw. And then obviously he makes wholesale changes on the bench. I think Alanga started a game as well, didn't he, in the Europa League earlier on? I think he started the Sociedad game, didn't he? If I remember right. So just little changes here and there. I think this, though, looking at this heat map, even with Ronaldo in from this game, and I understand what you were saying there, Reece, about the inverted wingers, but even with inverted wingers, they tend to come in more on that corner of the box and not be sitting this high. But when you have a look at maybe where your centre forward is sitting, and especially in that game, that would sort of say to me that the centre forward didn't have a sniff the whole match, which is true. He didn't really, did he? Did even add? I mean, he hit the post once, didn't he? If I remember, he had that opportunity.
Yeah, I look, you know me, I'm not really into stats and G whatever this is called. It doesn't really.
This is a heat map, Stu.
It's a heat map, is it? Either way, I don't really, because it never tells the full story of a game, you see. But what you can tell by that particular heat map, then, one for the better one, is where Casemiro will really dominate the game. Anybody watched Casemiro play over the last 2 or 3 weeks, certainly Saturday, Saturday evening, would have noticed he very rarely moves. Once he makes his first pass, he rarely moves. In fact, he'll stand still, and he'll do that because he's anticipating turnover. Okay, if the game proceeds, he'll then just jog in and around his area, but he doesn't move out of his chosen segment. Again, purely and simply down to transition. If we lose the ball, he's in position to sweep up. He will then, again, venture forward to make an auxiliary attacker. So he'll be right dead centre, ready for the ball to come in from our wingers because they can't be bothered to get around the fullbacks. So Casemiro allows, and this will take a lot to develop, by the way, it allows Eriksen, it allows Bruno to not get in each other's way and play as almost two separate tens, with one of them, whoever that may be, when we do relinquish possession, charged with getting back and helping Casemiro. All right. And that's where I think we might find it a bit easier getting at Sheriff on Thursday by virtue of what Casemiro can do. We know he can play a long pass. We know he can play a short pass. We know he can play a ground pass. And he's got that vision to do it. And I think, and I talked about conceding possession earlier, that's why you can concede possession, because you've got somebody like Casemiro who's perfectly positioned each and every time to receive the ball and move the ball and cancel out any kind of attacks. It should eventually, at some point, open up the space at the back, which is what you were talking about during the game. So Ronaldo was, if you remember, you're absolutely right. Ronaldo was kind of swallowed up, but so were our wingers. Our wingers were swallowed up because all they were doing, they're putting four across the back. Where Sheriff were actually quite good, and most people don't actually like it. They almost played as a 4-4-2 or a 4-5-1, right across the pitch. They spread themselves wide across the pitch, and that was our biggest problem. And I remember, like you say, Sancho's goal, I think it was well worked, if I remember. I can't quite remember the goal, but I think it was a well worked goal. But after that, we didn't really do much. McTominay is never going to be the one for his positional play. We've spoken about this all the time. So I think you'll find with Casemiro's position and how he hangs around and centres himself, it will help Bruno and Eriksen a bit better. I was kind of with Reece, actually. I didn't think the Bruno and Eriksen dynamic would work, but they didn't have the right player around them to help them. Now they've got the player to help them. I think it will eventually work. But our problem will be, as you quite rightly said, getting in and around the back. But I think Casemiro will help.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Casemiro play again. Reece, his impact on this team has been just undeniable, hasn't it, since he's come in?
Yeah, just doing the simple things well, isn't he? It's I think the last two games in particular where we saw a different sort of setup. We saw Casemiro playing alongside Fred, which is the Brazil kind of team, or his usual Brazil partner there in the defensive midfield, which works. Again, like I say, I think it was the best performance that we've had this season against Spurs. Spurs are pretty dire, if I'm honest. It's not a pun on Eric Dyer. That's just a genuine statement on how poor Spurs were. But I think generally Casemiro has been excellent, and Chelsea, he was good, very good in that first half an hour, excellent, and fair play to Graham Potter, because he saw that weakness in his team and he had to address it quite quickly with Kovacic, and he made the change after half an hour, and he had to nullify him because Casemiro was getting joy, and he had to mix it up a bit. So he's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I'm still unsure, and I'm sure Ten Hag is now, in terms of, which is a great place to be, by the way. He's got a headache now. Where do I play Casemiro with Fred? Do I play Casemiro on his own? Allow Eriksen in there with Bruno. The Spurs game, Eriksen didn't start. I'm convinced Eriksen can play the 10 role instead of Bruno if you don't play Bruno. But then is Eriksen going to score as many goals as Bruno potentially brings to this team? Probably not. He probably provides more, but he probably doesn't score as many himself. So he's got a dynamic there. But I think Casemiro now, alongside players like Martinez, and potentially Dalot and maybe Anthony, first teamers now. He's got some players in his team now where he thinks they're definitely going to start in my team every single time. And Casemiro has now become one of those players in his team. And that's what we need now, where they're pretty much every week, the team almost picks itself, depending on the competition, obviously, but assuming it's a Premier League game, it picks itself. And there's maybe one or two changes depending on form. And Casemiro's in there now. He's got to start every game.
Yeah, my dad is full of praise for Eriksen, by the way. We mentioned him a second ago. For him, Eriksen's the player of the season so far for us. Is loving watching him play. I said to him, I said that your mind's going to be quickly changed now that Casemiro's playing week in, week out. I genuinely feel like he makes the team that much better. I think it's interesting what you say there with options. I think what's great about having Eriksen, who can sort of play in a defensive transition as a six, but then go to a 4-3-3 so that him and Bruno are like attacking eights when we have the ball, is that if we are going to play teams like Spurs and we need someone who defensively is better than Eriksen, then we've got the option to sit someone next to Casemiro. And I think also that's going to be really important when it comes to seeing games out as well and managing Casemiro's time. There's a lot of football to be played, isn't there? And I think it's great just to have options. But I've been impressed with all the new lads. I mean, I can't blow any more smoke up Martinez's arse after the show on Sunday. Like, I think the guy's God tier already. Like, genuinely, he is looking that good, and the influence he's having is that substantial for me. Those comments coming in, so I just want to quickly get through a couple of them. Hello, Salford MUFC. Hope you're good. Casemiro plays the ball forward constantly. Jarvis says our inverted wingers need to be sharp. It's too much huff and puff and very little result. I mean, I'll come back to it again, Jarvis. I genuinely think Anthony and Sancho are different players with a proper number 9 in the middle. Like, I genuinely believe that. At times last season, people forget Sancho was actually quite good when he was able to feed off of Ronaldo. And when Ronaldo was more mobile, looking maybe more towards the middle / start of the season than the end, because Ronaldo slowed down, I think, quite a bit towards the end. Rory says, with inverted wingers, the fullbacks need to be overlapping. They come in field an awful lot. I mean, that's another thing. Ten Hag plays with inverted fullbacks, doesn't he? More than he does wingbacks. And finally, Jarvis here, just some praise for Fred, and then also talking about his sloppiness against Chelsea. Well, look, let's talk about this team, shall we? And then we'll have a bit more of a conversation about whether Ronaldo does actually come straight back in for you guys and whether he deserves to come straight back in for you guys. Ten Hag says he's in the squad. He's been training with the squad. So goalkeeper, we don't expect any change there, do we? It's going to be De Gea in there. And back four, I suppose the big question is who replaces Varane, Reece, for you?
I think Lindelof, if I'm honest. I think he's a natural replacement because he's had minutes. He's played well with Martinez. He was in his press conference, I think, last week, in the last Europa League game with Ten Hag in the press conference. So that showed a lot of kind of where Ten Hag was with Lindelof as well in terms of his mindset. He obviously likes him. Yeah, I think it's Lindelof. Harry, he was asked a few questions on Harry today, sort of mainly around the World Cup, really, which he should do as a club manager. He played it all down and said, "Look, I'm not interested in sort of playing players because of the World Cup. I'm here to play my strongest 11, and then it's up to the national team managers to deal with that. But I'm not here to give him minutes just so he can get a place in the England team." He sort of broached it a little bit with Varane as well. He said, a player's sort of taking, protecting themselves a little bit because they want to be at the World Cup. Is Varane sort of maybe wrapping himself up in cotton wool a little bit because he doesn't want to be getting an injury before a major tournament. And obviously Ten Hag naturally didn't answer that question, but I think it's a big. Is this game a big step up for Harry Maguire? It shouldn't be, should it? Sheriff, it should be a perfect opportunity for Harry Maguire to come back into that team and play well. I think what we have missed, I will give my, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I've been a massive advocate for Harry Maguire. I think there's been little, I haven't been on his back as much as some of the fan base has, but equally I've not been his biggest fan either. But I think he's just kind of, I've been on the fence a little bit, but I think we've missed his passing range. If I'm honest, I think Martinez has been excellent. Varane's equally been excellent in terms of his covering. Martinez is tackling and his tenacity, but we have missed a passer there in that back line. Somebody who can spray a 20, 30-yard pass out wide quickly. I haven't seen much of that from them two yet. So, I think it's going to be Lindelof, but it wouldn't surprise me if we saw Harry Maguire either, to be quite honest, Ben. But I think naturally it'll be Victor Lindelof.
The conundrum he's got is I think he'll want to start Maguire against West Ham just because of West Ham's forward options. You look at the likes of Samaka, who's very, very physical. I don't know if he's starting much for West Ham at the moment, but he is quite a physical striker. So I think if he had the option, I think he'd be starting Maguire against West Ham. But what you don't want to do is throw in a just fit again Harry Maguire against West Ham. So I think if he is, I think the decision he makes tomorrow, below what you said there, Reece, I think it will show us how we're moving forward with Varane's injury. Because I think if he does stick with Lindelof straight away, I don't think Lindelof will play against West Ham. And I think then Lindelof has to make a mistake to come back out the team. So I think it would be quite interesting to see what he decides to do there. Stu, what about you? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same wavelength as you guys are, really. I would bring Maguire back in if he's fit. If he's not fit, I wouldn't play him. And I think you're right. I think Reece is right about his passing ability, but we're also missing that leader in the air. His heading ability is second to none in that team. He's the best defensive header in the football. We all know that. He gets his head on everything. But I think it'll be Lindelof. I do think he'll start Lindelof. I think he'll start Martinez, probably Malacia, I would say, over Shaw. But I mean, you take your pick. I mean, he's got to start Dalot because there's nobody else to do it unless he plays Malacia at right back because he can play there. Obviously, he's played there before. But I think the problem we got at the moment is he's hung his hat on the Varane Martinez partnership because it's worked. There's absolutely no two ways about it. But we all knew, everybody knew in the fan base, Varane was going to get injured. So it then becomes what happens. And it's only by the look of the draw that Maguire was injured, not Lindelof. If Lindelof had been injured, it would have been Maguire alongside, Martinez. And it would have been Maguire playing probably tomorrow. So, it's whether or not we prefer Lindelof or Maguire. They offered completely different things. I think actually you're going to see a different type of Maguire now with Casemiro in front of him. That is absolutely massive to the way that Maguire plays. And I think you just need to be careful. Everybody in the fan base will start having a pop. Absolutely fine. But you just need to let that one play out because it's going to play out. Lindelof could get injured. And then what are you going to do? You've got to be careful, the fan base has, and think, look, we've got to get behind whoever it is because there's one thing we know for sure, and it is going to be Martinez plus. It's Martinez plus. And it'll be really, really interesting. I think you're right. Good call on Scamacca. He is a physical brute. He's an absolute bully. And
I'm going to say, from what I recall last season as well, I'm sure Maguire came back to the West. I think he came back from injury last season, and it was a West Ham game, wasn't it? And the West Ham were playing well at that time. So they've had a bit of a drop off this season, and he had a really good game, didn't he? Maguire.
It's going to be one of. It's going to be. It's going to be one of those. I just think sometimes, the fan base has got to look at it and think, we've got a threadbare squad at the back. We've got no replacement for Dalot. I know Wan-Bissaka's come back into training, but we've got a real replacement for Dalot. The Shaw and Malacia thing is okay for us. That's pretty good. But, Dalot gets injured. Wan-Bissaka's got to come in. And the fan base don't like Wan-Bissaka. It's kind of tough, isn't it? Lindelof injured. Maguire's got to come in. I'm sorry, but that's football. That's what football's all about.
I think we have been quite fortunate on that right hand side, haven't we? That Dalot remained fit.
Yeah, massively fortunate. We would have been in a real problem, a real hole.
I think I've just had a look, and my fears were right. Scamacca has played the last 5, 6, 7 games for West Ham, and again, to be honest, looking at him, it's quite deceiving when you watch him on Match of the Day and then the highlights. He is 6'5". He's an absolute lump, and he is a good player. He's also got a bit of speed about him, but he's also, like you say, is a bit of a unit. So my question is, who do you want playing up against him on Sunday? Well, you want Harry Maguire. You don't want Victor Lindelof up against him on Sunday, and potentially you don't even want Martinez up against him. Yes, we'd love Varane, but he's injured. So your next best option is Harry Maguire, and I think you've got to give Maguire minutes as soon as you can. And I think if he can come out of the Sheriff game with some confidence, minutes in his leg, and I mean you're looking at 60 to 75 minutes, not the full 90, then I think you're taking a more confident Maguire into the game, and that's a positive, and he needs that.
I didn't see the press conference. Risha might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but I read a report on the United app that said that he referred to Maguire at one point as our captain was back in training or something along those lines. And I as I said, I didn't hear it, so I don't know. It's going to be one of those.
I think there's three players back. Donny, Harry, and Wan-Bissaka were back in training, and I've been back in training. So they're available.
Are they 50-50? Are they 50-50 or
all available for the squad? Yeah. So I don't want to open the Donny debate really as well, but
no, I don't want to.
They're all on the periphery, aren't they? At the minute, there's three players as well. Which is
Adam's right. Adam's right. He has been bullied by Scamacca before. Scamacca is an absolute animal. He really is an animal. But look, the thing about being a professional footballer at the very, very highest level is rising to that challenge. Now Maguire's been challenged, hasn't he, by Varane and Martinez. It's up to him to rise to that challenge. Same with Lindelof.
Wait a second, I'm confused. What do you mean he got? But he didn't play for AC Milan. Have I missed something here?
Scamacca.
He didn't play for AC Milan.
Scamacca was.
He played for Sassuolo. The Italian team that played in black and green. Black and green. England v Italy. Oh, okay. I was going to say, I didn't know what you were going on about then.
Yeah.
I remember that England and Italy game. Which one are we talking about? Are we talking about the one recently? If so, we're talking about a Maguire that was well short of confidence. To be honest, I wouldn't take a lot from that. I understand what you're saying though, Adam. Sorry, I just want to pitch in because my mind then completely went. International football, what are you on about?
Ben went full Martinez on him there.
It's up to Maguire and Lindelof to rise to this challenge. And look, Reece is right. Lindelof has been okay. He's been okay. Last 3-4 games he's played, or however long he's played, he's been okay. So interesting to see what he does. And I think, Ben, you're absolutely right. I think whatever he does tomorrow night sets the scene for our next 4 games after that, before the World Cup. I think it's
interesting. It's interesting. Like you say, left back's going to be interesting. Does he give Malacia a game? I think, give him a game. There's no point in sitting Malacia on the bench and not giving him minutes. He's a young lad that needs to learn. He needs that confidence. Give him a game. Shaw's clearly not the fittest person in the world as well. Like he needs time out the side too. And I think there's nothing better than having that healthy competition and letting them flip between the two. So would you go Malacia or would you go Shaw, Reece? Sorry, just quickly.
I think Malacia started the last game, didn't he, against Sheriff?
He did, didn't he? Yeah.
I like Malacia. I just think it's had a bit of a slap in the face. I think the Premier League's given him a kick up the rear and gone, it's not as easy as you think, this, pal. And I think he was maybe, I won't say beginner's luck. Obviously, he's a quality young player, but I think he started off very, very quick, and I think he just had a bit of a wake up call. And obviously, Shaw's, he's up there after that Euros as arguably one of the best left backs in the world, and obviously his fitness kind of then held him back a little bit. So he's got gears at the minute above Malacia, hasn't he? I mean, there's not to say Malacia is not going to be there at some point, but I'll give Malacia a run out. I think he needs it. It's been a while since he started.
I'd blame him. Yeah. I was just saying that Rory's made a really good point. Scamacca bullies Maguire, he'll destroy Lindelof, and he's right.
Yeah. I think it's interesting though, because also didn't England play Italy in that Nation League tournament at the end of the season? I think that was a 0-0, wasn't it?
0-0, yeah.
I mean, I know the last one was 1-0, but it wasn't like that Scamacca was setting the world on fire in those games. At the end of the day, he's a big lad. He's going to out-jump the majority of defenders that he goes up against. It's how you keep him away from goal and stopping him from putting the ball in the net that matters. But yeah, it's interesting points. I think on Malacia, if we're to judge Malacia right now, imagine if we had done that to Evra when he first joined. Blimey, he had some baptism of fires. Like, come on, he's a young lad and he's clearly got the ability.
He's a very good player.
Being well managed, pushing him on. There we go then. So our back line, I think we're going De Gea. I mean, you've both said Lindelof, but we're sort of sceptical of whether Maguire will come in.
Yeah.
But let's just go with Dalot, Lindelof, Martinez, and Malacia to settle that one. Midfield 3. I mean, I personally, are we going to go any different? I'm expecting Casemiro, Eriksen, and Bruno.
Same here.
Yeah.
I think so. I think if Eriksen wasn't with Ten Hag today at that press conference, I would have said Fred and Casemiro and Bruno. But I think with Eriksen being there with him, I think he's got every intention of starting him. And Bruno is the undroppable man, isn't he? He seems to not be able to drop him. And he's playing. He's playing last 2 games. He's playing well. He's playing well again. So, but if we're going to talk about him in a second, but like if Ronaldo's in that team, do we get the best Bruno? I'm not so sure. So yeah, but yeah, I think that'll be the midfield, won't it? I think them three. And it's not a bad midfield, is it? So
It could be worse.
It's an upgrade, that's for sure. Well, am I still here? Yeah, I'm still here. I thought I'd mute myself. Front three then, and we'll then discuss Ronaldo in a bit more detail once I've had your three players that are going to play up top. So don't go in too deep about the three players yet. Let's just hear the three players. Reece, who are you starting as our front three?
I think it's got to be Anthony Wright. I think he's a golden boy for Ten Hag, and I think as many minutes as he can get, he'll play him. So I think Anthony plays on the right. I want to say I think he might give Elanga a shout, but I'm going to go.
I'll go Elanga.
Go on then. I'll go Elanga. I'll stick my neck out and say Elanga, and then I think Ronaldo. Is Ronaldo going to get a start? Yeah, I don't know. It might be a bit of a use. I think I'd like to think he's going to play Ronaldo, so I'm going to say Elanga and Ronaldo, but he may quite easily play Rashford and bring Ronaldo on. But
I think it'd be Elanga, Ronaldo, and Anthony. That's what I was going to go for.
Yeah.
On one out, I personally have written down here, I've gone Anthony, Rashford, Elanga. I think he'll stick with it. I think he'll stick with Rashford.
I think he'll stick with Rashford and bring Ronaldo on. I think that'll be what'll probably happen. But
the reason why I've got Elanga, by the way, guys, and I don't know if you want to chip in with this afterwards, Reece, I think I saw enough at the end of that Chelsea game, and I think Ten Hag did as well, to have trust and confidence in giving him a game. And I think Ten Hag likes that. He likes being able to reward a player for doing something good. I mean, I know we're going to come off the back of this and have a chat about Ronaldo in terms of taking someone out for doing something bad. But I genuinely feel that Ten Hag is one of those managers that will always look to get the best out of players. And I think after Elanga's cameo against Chelsea, he's deserving of a start.
It's funny, isn't it? I think he's very different. He's very similar to Fergie in that respect. I don't want to cast too many comparisons, but he's very similar to Fergie in that respect, but different as well in the same sort of way. So same sort of differences. And what I mean by that is if like you had a Berbatov in this side now, would Ten Hag sort of admire a Berbatov in a team like this? I'm not so sure. Now I'm a massive advocate of Berbatov, and Fergie loved him. Same with Cantona. He loved the Cantona. Was Cantona the hardest working player in the pitch? Not until he had the ball at his feet. I don't think he would fit into a system like this, would he? But Fergie had the eye for players like that. Ten Hag likes a fairly methodical, hard-working team, and Elanga provides that. His energy, his youthfulness, his grit, his passion, and the fans made a song about him last season after his exploits in the Champions League. So he's shown that the fans, when he wants to, he's got performances in him, and I like him. I think as a fan base as well, we're quite quick to turn on players when they don't put a performance in, and that's just the heights of being a Man United player. But I think
I agree, Reece. Actually, I think you're absolutely spot on about Elanga, and there's also something else: is that Elanga's never played with the types of players we've got in the starting 11 at the minute, the first 11. He's never played with the likes of the quality of Eriksen, never played with the quality of Casemiro, he's never played with a really good, solid centre-half in Martinez. And Dalot was nowhere near as attacking or playing anywhere near as well the last couple of seasons as this season. Shaw's almost rejuvenated to an extent, not anywhere near where he has been, but he's rejuvenated. But that free-flowing midfield will help. And what I like about Elanga is he's very skillful. He's very direct when he wants to be. Very strong, really powerful. Probably not brilliant in front of goal, but he will add something. He will add a different dimension. And so I would give him a go.
He's quick, isn't he? He's quick. He's really quick as well.
I like him. I'll give him a go. He's a big unit. He's a big lad. Give him something to think about. You've got to give defenders something to think about occasionally. So I would start him.
The other thing I like about Alanga is he offers something completely different to Anthony and Sancho. Like completely different in terms of his directness and what he's like with that pace. And he is a goal scoring threat. Though we've seen him score a couple of nice goals for United.
He's a threat, yeah.
He's the closest thing to Rashford, isn't he? I think without being Rashford, I think he's that pace, power, finishing ability when Rashford's on it, and
But unfortunately, Alanga fits into this dynamic that we've got at the moment, as we just can't fucking score goals. So that's the problem. He's one of those, isn't he? You're right. He's different to Sancho. He's different to Rashford. Well, actually, Reece is right. He's as close to Rashford as we get, but he's definitely different to Anthony. But are you going to back him when we desperately need to back someone? You're not going to back Rashford, Alanga, Sancho, and Anthony. That's the problem.
Yeah. He has scored a few goals, though, to be fair to Alanga.
He has scored a few. Yeah, he scored a wonderful header, didn't he, against Wolves?
He scored that goal against, was it Atletico? At the
he scored some goals.
Away and home. He can put the ball in the net. Usually, though, he puts the ball in the net when you don't expect him to, instead of when you expect him to, which, again, like you say, is part of the problem. Interesting comments coming in about Ronaldo. Get in the live chat, guys. I mean, we'll go the majority decision. You both think he'll start. Reece, the question is, should everything be swept up under the carpet and forgiven and forgotten about and straight into the team?
From a personal point of view, I mean, it sort of depends what's been said, doesn't it? I think in terms of image, it's like any other player could have walked off like he did, and half of the fan base wouldn't even have noticed it. And I'm not saying that makes it right, but what I'm saying is it's like it was just sort of it engulfed the news, didn't it, off the back of a very good performance at Spurs, and it shouldn't have really been the case. And that was the unfortunate thing. I think completely disagree with how he dealt with the situation. I think watched a few kind of podcasts after the game and stuff like that, and a few things on YouTube about people's reaction to it. And there was a lot of pundits who were against each other on the verdict of it, and I was totally on the side of Gary Neville's, really, in terms of the fact that and he's one of his colleagues and best friends in terms of the footballing world, and he was totally against what he was doing. And I mean, I don't know what's been said to resolve it. Ten Hag's shown some stability. I think, if anything, it's only going to be a plus point for Ten Hag this year that he's got someone like Ronaldo who's testing his patience, who's testing his resilience, who's testing his management style, and he's coming through those challenges. And if you ever wanted to pick in the world of football the biggest personality to test all those attributes, you'd pick Ronaldo, and Ten Hag's coming through that test. He's got this big, massive ego, this big player, one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time in people's eyes, and he's putting him to rights when it matters. And maybe that's what at 38, maybe he's only just started realising that, which is it comes to a lot of other players a lot sooner, and that's probably because of their ability levels. Most players hit that mark at probably 29, 30, but he's at 38 when he's realised that perhaps I'm not as good as I once was, and I need to listen to the manager a bit more. So yeah, hopefully they've kissed and made up, and Ten Hag's told him where to go, and Ronaldo's going to listen. He's still got a lot to give to this team, Ben. I mean, whether you like him or not, or whether you think he's done or not, if he gets fit, he did it last season. He had a moment last season, middle of the season. He came back, he scored an hat-trick, I think, against Spurs, and went on from there, and he was brilliant. And the rest of the team were crap, and he was great. Whether because we were playing to Ronaldo, whether it was because Ronaldo was good and the rest of the team weren't, I'm not sure. But this team's obviously a lot better than we were last season. And Ronaldo can still provide goals to it. I just can't sit here and believe that he can't. You don't lose that quality overnight. Yeah, you lose your pace, you lose your sort of agility maybe, but in terms of what he's there to do, you don't lose that instinct, and he can still score goals. So for me, yeah, does he come straight back into this team tomorrow? For me, no, he shouldn't do. But he's got a shout if he puts his head down, he comes on, and maybe he gets a goal or plays well and gives a shout at the game against West Ham, perhaps. But he's got a lot to give, a hell of a lot to give to this team still. So yeah.
Yeah, you can't complain that you can't score goals or put the ball in the back of the net when you've got Ronaldo just sat there on the bench whilst the game's still 0-0. With that, I 100% agree. Now, Stu's got his Allen key. He's been sorting his ankle out whilst we've been talking, and it's now tightened up and he's raring to go. Go on, Stu. Tell me, Ronaldo, is a suspected 2-week fine of wages and 1 game out the squad and made to train alone for a few days enough for the petulance that we saw at the Tottenham game? I phrased that one, didn't I?
See, my view is completely. I don't give a fuck. The thing is, I'm in that dressing room with him, and I walk in after the game, and he's in that dressing room. I'm just looking at him, a prick, whatever, and get on with it. I'm going to get myself ready. I'm going to go home. Come Monday morning, I don't care. I don't care as a footballer. I don't care. And I know people will have a go at me, etc., etc., etc. That's absolutely fine. But I like petulance. I've done it myself. I've been petulant myself. If I've been dragged off, I've gone and fucking, kicked a few water bottles. I was dropped for a first game on tour in Portugal a few seasons ago for the team photo. I had my sunglasses on because I was absolutely fucking livid. You should be livid as a professional footballer, or as a footballer, actually, at any level. If you're dropped or you're brought off unceremoniously or whatever, you don't get on, you've got to be asking questions, because the manager, the gaffer, he'll be looking at you and wondering, he doesn't seem to be bothered. Okay, well, in that case, I can walk all over him. You don't fucking walk all over me. Nobody walks all over me. You don't allow that, because if you do, you're not playing to the best of your ability. People like Ronaldo, footballers like Martinez, Diego Costa, they thrive on aggression. They thrive on perfection. They thrive on being the very, 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 very best there is. And, Ronaldo doesn't score. He's coming off. You don't want to be anywhere near him because he's livid. You absolutely, you should have dropped it in 2 yards and an open fucking goal. Instead, you went for goal. We lose the game 1-0. That's the type of player you need. So to me, I'm in the dressing room. I'm calling him a tosser or whatever, and then I'm forgetting about it. Come Monday morning, come Tuesday morning or whatever. Once the gaffer's dealt with it, the gaffer's dealt with it. Because football's about team. And you look around, can you rely on Ronaldo? The answer is yes. Reece is right. Reece is right. Whether you think it's petulant or not, he's a one chance, 1 goal merchant. When he's on his day, the cross comes in, bang, next. We win the game 1-0. We haven't got anyone in our squad that can do that. Ruud van Nistelrooy was exactly the same. Ruud van Nistelrooy didn't score. Be somewhere else. Don't be anywhere near him because he's livid. And I like that. I want to be in a dressing room full of arseholes, full of wankers, full of bad winners as well as bad losers. That's where I want to be. I don't want to be in a dressing room where, I wasn't great today, but fuck it, I don't care. What do you mean you don't care? You're not interested in that.
Stu, there's a difference between petulance and being annoyed that you didn't play than walking off when all your teammates, and not just walking off, leaving the stadium before the full-time whistle had even gone off. And that's what's been... He actually left the stadium before his team even left the pitch. His team, which had just won that game, plus he also refused to come on. The manager asked him to do something, and he refused to do it.
I get that, but I promise you now, the players, the lads, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah, the players, the lads is something completely different. But
it's the fans and the media that care. And Reece
I
right.
think it's the manager. The manager needs to care, and not just the manager, but also the standards and the culture. Then what that sets for the younger players who are watching that. We're talking about one of the best figures in world football that you should be soaking everything up from. It's not even a walking off here. It's the clearly refusing to do what his manager has asked him to do. And not just that, by the way, the flip to that would be, Stu, right? Is that Ronaldo doesn't do that if we're 1-0 down because he wants to come on and he wants to be the man to do that. But because we're 2-0 up, he doesn't want to go to the trenches and put in the hard work to see that game off. Now, for me, that's him refusing to go to battle with his teammates. It doesn't matter how long is left to go in that game. So you've got 2 areas there of disrespect and petulance. You've got it towards your teammates for refusing to go and do the hard work of seeing the game out. And then you've got the completely disobeying what your manager has asked you to do. Like, and then it's the walking off, then it's the petulance, and then it's the acting like a baby, and then how that looks in the bigger picture.
I don't disagree with any of that, but I promise you now, I really do promise you now, half those lads, they wouldn't care. They don't care. There's been various stories that come out just recently about Paul Scholes refusing to play. I didn't know about that, but Roy Keane comes out and says it happens in football. It happens in training. The gaffer says, "Well, go and run splits." No, I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to go and shower, or I'm just going to go in the sit on the bike or whatever. Players do this. This is the problem. Players will do this. If they don't want to do it, they'll do it. So for me, I can only really talk about my own experience and the way that I look at it. And I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying how I look at it. And for me, it was a non-entity. The real reason and the real thing about Reece is right is that forget the United 2-0 win. It's all about Ronaldo after that. And the press has got to grow up a bit. I work in the media, as you well know. We've got to grow up a bit. Make it a non-entity, but the press won't do it. The press have got to make it a big thing. How many times in the last 2 or 3 weeks, lads, have we seen the press?
Quickly on that. I disagree with that, though. Ronaldo did that because the press were going to jump on it. He knew full well that that's what was going to come out the back of that game. That's why he walked off. That's why he walked off. If we look back at the Scholes situation, the story behind that is he was pissed off that he didn't come on in a cup game. He was then put in the squad, but only on the bench for the upcoming league game. He met Sir Alex in a car park and said, "No, I'm not fucking playing." Went off, cried like a baby, got scared about it, and then went straight away the next morning and apologised to the manager. Ronaldo walked off and made this massive deal out of it. Now, I'm a massive Ronaldo fan. I love Ronaldo. But I think there's a real big difference between petulance and just unprofessionalism that completely crosses the line. And for me, I think he did.
I think it was a bad move on Ronaldo's part because it wasn't very clever in a sense.
But it was calculated.
It was calculated, but it backfired because he didn't expect Ten Hag to react the way that he did. So obviously, then he dropped him, and then he made him to he used him as an example to say, "Look, no one does this in my team, even Ronaldo," and it made him look bad in the media. So in a way, it kind of backfired on him quite a bit. Obviously, as well, last season he had a little bit of a point where he could strut around a little bit because we were playing poorly. He was scoring all the goals. This season, it's not that way. We're playing well, played well without him, sat there watching us play well. And it massively backfired. I think I sort of see where Stu was coming from. I don't 100% agree with it. I can see, I totally get where you're coming from, Stu, and I get the fact that you have a lot of these big characters and these big personalities. And if you look at a Real Madrid team, when he was in the Real Madrid team, I'm sure that was an atmosphere like that where all these characters were there and these big personalities. But I think in terms of what we're building and where we've gone from last season and where we're getting to this season now, for him to still be trying to make it about him is a little bit. It's just poor on his part. And I think again, I mentioned Gary Neville mentioning it, and I say that because he's one of his friends, and he was pretty much calling him out and saying, "Look, I'm his friend, I'm his colleague. Play with him. He's one of the greatest players of all time, if not the best player that I've ever seen." But he went about it the wrong way. He should have gone to that pitch. He should have hugged his teammates, said, "Well played," shook the manager's hand. Then the next morning, got him into the office and said, "Look, Eric, that was, why didn't you bring me on? Why did I?" Well, like Ben said, he was trying to bring him on, but I mean, why didn't you bring me on earlier? I wanted to play. It was out of order, and take it away from the media, but he chose to kind of make a spectacle of it, and it backfired. And Ten Hag, fair play, he's had a test as a manager to deal with a big ego. He's dealt with it perfectly, and now now Ronaldo's got the tail between his legs, and he's having to come back and apologise. And
I don't apologise.
Well, it's up to him. I think what Ten Hag's probably said is that if you don't apologise, or you don't listen to what I've got to say, then you're not going to play in this team. So
I mean, he's walked in the dressing room and and he's probably gone, "Oh, sorry about the other night, lads." What and that's it. You just move on. That's how football is. I'm afraid it's people don't like it. People don't like that side of football. They don't, and I get it. I really do. I get that for a lot of people, it's not the done thing. I really do. I get it. I understand everybody's viewpoint on it. I just look at it differently. That's all. I'm not saying I'm right. It's just how I look at it.
Do you know what? I do think part of it is that he also believes now that he is bigger than the club, Ronaldo, so he can act and do whatever he likes. I mean, one of the things that I saw the other day that I never knew about was that he is the only player to have personal bodyguards shadow him literally everywhere to the training ground and around the training ground. Now, when you've got that type of stature and you've got that following you every day, you do. You probably do get a little bit too big for your boots, and you probably do step out of line. And do you know what? I actually liked his statement more than I think many others did, because I think he was admitting within that statement that he personally crossed his own line. He didn't apologise, but I think he admitted that he crossed his own line of professionalism and wasn't happy with how he conducted himself.
Yeah.
I really want to believe that Ten Hag has such control over this situation that he did actually go into Ten Hag and apologise to Ten Hag. Whether he apologised to the dressing room, I don't know. But I just don't think there should be a situation at any football club where the player is bigger than the manager or the club. Unfortunately, we're getting that way. Mbappe, the president of bloody PSG, is going that way.
Yeah.
But I don't like that the idea of that happening at my football club. So,
and that's fair enough.
We can't see it happen again.
And that's fair enough. And like I say, I do get that. I think you're right. You know me, Ben. I always look at it from a footballer's point of view, a player's point of view. I always do. Every time I talk about football, I just talk about it from a player's point of view. And I'm doing that again. I'm just talking about it. If I was in that dressing room, it's just how I am. It's just how I am. Really, it doesn't mean I'm right.
I think from Ten Hag's point of view, it was a brilliant response. Whether he got the full effect, I don't know. Because when you're in a position of leadership, you can't show weakness. You can't show weakness to anybody, no matter how big they are in your team. If they're reporting into him, which they are as players, into a manager, as big as he is and as big as he is as a profiled player in the world of football, can't show weakness. He shows weakness there, and he caves into that situation to Ronaldo. He doesn't. His tenure's probably going to be a lot weakened from it. Anyway, but it's. I think he plays a part tomorrow, doesn't he? At some stage, I think, whether he starts.
100%. 100%. Well, look, he probably does score. And do you know what? I hope he scores a hat trick. I really freaking do, because we'll all be on our feet for him. I personally don't go with the crap that this ruins his legacy. No way whatsoever. He has put in so many years that I'm proud of as a United fan to say that this is more or less where he started and where he built his career from. So, we'll take it on the chin, we'll move on, and hopefully he steps up. And if he steps up and we've got a happy, hungry Ronaldo now, perfect. I do want to talk about one more thing, just very, very quickly, guys. We sort of hit on it at the start of the show, so I want to go full circle. I don't know how clued up everyone is with this, but second place is not where we want to be in the Europa League. What happens is whoever finishes second in their Europa League group will have to play a playoff round against one of the 8 teams that drop out of the Champions League after finishing third in their group. So it means A, an extra game, but B, a bloody quite difficult game by the looks of it as well, given in mind that I think it's Barcelona and Juventus have both confirmed for and Salzburg, Red Bull Salzburg are all confirmed already for Europa League, and I think potentially it would be Ajax or Rangers, and the other one is Atleti could jump back into it as well. They've gone out tonight, but whether they finish 4th or 3rd, we'll wait and see. So Reece, how important is it, not just for fixture congestion, but for us winning this competition to finish first?
It's like some good questions. I mean, if we want to win the thing, if we want to win the Europa League, then it's very important that we come first. I think for lots of different reasons. You might sit there and go, well, you got to beat the best teams to win the competition. Not necessarily. I sometimes it's easy to have the best run and get to a final where you've barely played anybody, and then have an easier run. You can knock 10 bells out of you if you're playing some of the bigger teams. So no, I think if you want to win it, we need to top this group. I think for lots of different reasons, really. Confidence, if anything else, is massive. Confidence is such a huge thing that you can't physically bottle. Obviously, it's an abstract feeling, like most feelings are, but it's an abstract thing, and confidence is massive, and we've lacked it for such a long time. So topping the group, going through, knowing you've done it, and then coming back in the new year where, we'll have some easier games, we'll just be, we'll be in a better place to win it. I think, is it important in terms of the grand scheme of what we're trying to achieve? Probably not. If we don't top the group, we have to play a Barcelona. Is it important? No, not. We play a Barcelona, we try and win that game. But I mean, obviously, if we want to win the competition, we need to try and top it. But I think in terms of where Ten Hag will be at, he'll just be thinking, we go into every game, we try and win that game. If we don't win that game, we move on to the next one and try and win that one. So I think in terms of where his headspace will be at, I don't think he'll think it's the be-all and end-all of his kind of foresight in terms of what he wants to do with the team. But yeah, as a fan, to win it, we need to be topping the group.
Yeah, 100%. Sorry, Apex, Adam, Salford, you guys, I can see your comments on Ronaldo. Sorry I haven't shared them. Jarvis as well. We just need to get through the next 5 minutes and then obviously run off. It's nearly 11:30 where we are. So we need to move through it. I mean, also, Stu, it goes without saying, looking at the group now, we're probably going to need to, Sociedad are probably going to need to drop some points potentially as well. I mean, the difficulty we've got.
How do we win the group if we beat them? What do we need to score?
They'll obviously score. So we need to win tomorrow, which will put us there. If they then win the group, we've then got to beat. Sorry, if they win, we've then got to beat them, which means we'll be level on points with them. But it's not goal difference, is it? It's head to head. So I think if we beat them by more goals than they beat us, then we win the group.
So we potentially might have to beat them 2-0.
Yeah, to win it. I don't know what happens then. If it's 1-0 each, I don't know then what it goes to. Maybe then it goes to goal difference. If it then goes to goal difference, it means we need to put some goals. We need to put the ball in the back of the net a few times tomorrow.
It's interesting, really, and I know people have. We've been talking about this, even myself, and it only just crossed my mind as Reece was talking about finishing first or second in the group. How do we actually win? How do we actually top the group? Because we'll finish on the same points potentially, won't we? If we beat them. So.
Oh no! Here we go. So if both teams, here we go. Team that finished over 1 points in Europa League group stage are sorted by their head-to-head with the following criteria. So points in head-to-head matches among tied teams. So so if we win 1-0, if we both win, then then it's goal difference in head-to-head matches. So there you go.
So we've got to score more. So
we will have to beat them by more goals than they beat us.
So we'd have to beat them 2-0 then.
Yeah, or 3-1 or
3-1. Yeah, because they beat
8-0 would do. Easy.
So, by the way, I'm kind of with Reece. I think Erik ten Hag doesn't care. I think you're absolutely right. This is another game of football. We just got to get another game of footballing. How exciting though, and people write off the Europa League, but how exciting in recent years has it been having AC Milan in the Europa League, having Barcelona in the Europa League, the likes of Juventus in the Europa League. Now, that type of thing. The old school games, the real old school games, the Champions League has always been about Manchester United, AC Milan, Manchester United, Juventus, Barcelona, Real Madrid. It's never been about City and PSG. It's never been about City and Barcelona. The games are Manchester United, Barcelona. Those are the ones that really act with intrigue. How great is the Europa League now that potentially we could get Man United, Juventus again, or could get Man United, Barcelona? How cool is that?
Yeah, I would say like the extra playoff game. I'm not keen on that.
Yeah, I'm not keen on a playoff, but Reece taking his lad to watch Man United, Barcelona, if he could get a ticket, how cool would that be? If you could get a ticket, Ben, how cool would that be at Old Trafford?
Do you know what I found out the other day? Sorry, fun fact. So my birthday's the 21st of October, so it's just been and gone. But my dad managed to buy me online. I don't know where he got it from or whether it was one of his. I don't know, but he sent it to me for my birthday. One of my birthday presents was a match programme of Manchester United against Barcelona in 1994 that was played on the 19th of October. It was the game closest to the day I was born.
Amazing.
Still can't remember what the result of that game was. Actually, I should maybe have a look, shouldn't I? I've never actually had a look. Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Let's have a look. See if I can find it. 2-2. Is it 2-2? No, wait a second. Sharp scored. Yeah, short. But yeah, Romario was on the score sheet for and Hughes. Yeah, 2-2. 2-2. Yeah, and that day United started with a midfield of Keane, Pallister, Kanchelskis, and Ince.
Kanchelskis, what a player!
Yeah. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you guys.
Nice, yeah.
That's what football's about, though, isn't it? That is actually what you're talking about. There is the essence of football. That's what football's about. That's why we're all fans. That's why we all love football because of that. And like I say, Benny taking his lad Zayden to watch Barcelona or Juventus, and then go because Benny will go to the Nou Camp or what is
What's
Juventus?
the Five Stadium, isn't it? Whatever it's called.
Oh,
no, the Allianz or what? No, it's like it's like the Allianz now, isn't it?
I don't know what Juventus is. Yeah. But, games like that are just what it's all about. So I don't want a playoff game, but I'll be quite happy with that.
Salford MUSC, first time watch the channel. Thanks for a brilliant football chat, by the way. That's what you get over here, mate. Thank you guys for watching. There's been quite a few of you on. Hit subscribe. Look, every single one of you now hit a like on this video, because by you hitting a like on video is as good as you sharing the link onto your social media platforms. It will get other Reds involved. So please hit a like on the video. And if you're watching back, oh my God, you've made it through the whole show. How have you done it? Listening to us go on for nearly an hour and a half. God, thank you. You guys are saints. But make sure you leave a comment with your thoughts. Thank you, Reese. Thank you, Stu. I'm sorry that Alex didn't make it, but I'm sure we'll get him on another time. That was our preview ahead of the Sheriff game. So to close out, Reese, predicted score?
Oh, I'm going to go through. I've said this now, haven't I? 3-0. I'm going to go 3-0, and I'm going to go with Anthony first goal.
You're hoping, mate, you get some goals tomorrow, didn't you?
Yeah.
Cold night in Manny. Go on, Stu.
I'm going. I like Salford FC, yeah, because Fergie once said that Inzaghi was born offside. I'm old, mate, so I remember all that. I'm going to go 2-0. I don't think we got it in the locker to score 3. Sorry, Rings. I'm going to go for my old mate Ericsson to get his first goal.
I'm going to say Reese is going to have a blinding night, and United are going to win 4-0. I really do think we're going to switch it on.
I've got a ticket, but I can't go again.
What?
Yeah, I get tickets. I have to. Being a season ticket holder, I've got to buy. You opt into.
What a shame we can't legally give it away. Bloody Manchester United. And
no, you can't do that anymore. Can't do it. Are you doing? What's happening tomorrow night then? We are meant to be, but it's still not 100% confirmed. Doing a watch along tomorrow night. So if you do want to jump in and you do want to have a watch, come and join us for the game, and we'll be chilling and you can watch the game with us. We're just testing it out as a new potential show to move forward with, especially over the World Cup as well. It'd be good to bring the lads together for a few England games and a few of the bigger games during that too. So come and join us if you can. Thank you as always, Jarvis. Thanks, you guys. I'm going to go hit the sack. I'm knackered. I bet you all are. So thank you for watching, and we'll speak to you in a bit. Ciao for now.